Let's start with the top and bottom line. So it is a beat, $1.30 adjusted EPS, earnings per share higher than the street, 5 cents higher on revenues of $57 billion. Also higher not only than the street, but higher than buy-side numbers in regards to data center revenue, which is contributing about almost 90% of total revenue. So a big factor that is stronger, $51.2 billion. And then gross margins. We keep worrying about input costs, memory costs, et cetera. Gross margins coming in slightly above 73.6%. Street was anticipating 73.4. There is a very bold statement from Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia. Blackwell sales are off the charts and cloud GPUs are sold out. Compute demand keeps accelerating and compounding across training and inference. So, and he said we've entered this virtuous cycle of AI. So I'll go through it to get you some more numbers, but so far quite bullish. The stock reacting positively.
Here. We are coming in with EPS at $1.30. That is a beat above the consensus for $1.24. Revenue coming in at $57.01 billion. That is better than the expectations for $55.19, but is a hair below some of those whisper numbers that analysts have been throwing out at us. That all-important gross margin for the third quarter coming in the mid-70s, as Angelo Zeno said that he expected they would earlier on the show, 73.6%. Data center revenue, that's coming in at $51.2 billion, better than expectations for $49.34. For their gaming revenue, a smaller component here, $4.3 billion, but that is a miss from the $4.42 billion that was expected. Now let's get to their next quarter. They usually only guide a quarter in advance, so let's talk about these numbers. Nvidia is seeing its fourth quarter revenue this current quarter coming in at $65 billion plus or minus 2%. They are seeing that to be between 63.7 and 66.3 billion. Estimates were calling for 61.98, so that is above the range. They're forecasting higher than estimates here. Their outlook is above the consensus. Shares are on the move higher. We are moving about 4% higher. They're also guiding for their fourth quarter gross margins to be about 75%, slightly above the estimates that were calling for 74.6%. Also a comment from Jensen Huang here coming across that their cloud GPUs are sold out. That is a direct quote coming from him. Networking revenue also coming across here at 8.19, better than expectations for 7.75 for the third quarter. Compute revenue coming in at 43.03 billion, on 41.61 billion expectations. Want to bring Sam and George back into the conversation here. George, some thoughts on these numbers. You know, we've got beats pretty much across the board. The guidance looks good, but it is not as high as those whisper numbers.
It's not, but it's pretty remarkable. You'd think that they wouldn't be able to beat these numbers or even guide higher. They just continue to do so. I mean, you're talking, gross margin estimates that I had were over 74, so they're at 75%. Looking at trailing gross margins at close to 70, they just keep moving the needle in terms of pricing power, and that's trickling down to net income. The beat on EPS as well as the guidance going forward, more incredible numbers, because I had about $62 billion for the estimated sales next quarter. They're coming in ahead of that. They're basically telling you that they can't keep up with demand still, and pricing power is still intact. And at some point, a lot of the skeptics out there would say that there's some point where we're not going to be able to keep up in terms of moving these benchmark numbers to the upside. But it's just a remarkably profitable company that is still in the midst of as the largest architect of this AI race, and they just keep moving the numbers higher. But again, one of the things about the numbers right now, and right now the market's pricing obviously higher by about $6 or so, is how the institutions trade it tomorrow, because institutions don't have the ability to move these markets in the after hours or even the pre-market tomorrow. So, how this stock closes tomorrow, I think, is extremely important, regardless of how it trades in the after hours today.
Yeah, and Sam, George brings up a very good point there that, yes, we're following the after hours trade, but tomorrow's action's really going to be so important. And we've talked a lot about this China story today and how important that would be. Just now coming across, Nvidia is saying those H20 sales were insignificant in the third quarter. So a small amount of commentary here ahead of the call on that China story. How much more do you expect them to touch on that on the call from your conversations and the notes that you've read versus just moving past this China story for now?
Well, I still think that this is a market that Jensen Huang would still like to see the chips go to, because that's certainly been something that we've heard the company talking about. We've even heard about some of the reporting around some of the other hyperscalers actually, making efforts to try to block that from happening, which is an interesting move as well. But, I mean, I think China didn't really matter to this earnings report as far as some of the analysts that I spoke to, because a lot of this has been sort of priced in sans China because of the commentary last quarter. So a lot of people are basically just looking at this without the China market story as part of, the whole setup here. So I think, anything that they say beyond that as to, maybe some of the progress that they're seeing, the conversations would be welcomed here and would be an added bonus, particularly because of the conversations we heard around mid-year when they looked like they were going to get the green light to get the H20 back. You saw a lot of the analysts turning a lot more bullish here. But yes, I mean, this was a pretty good quarter here, a double beat, the margins in line, the beat on the data centers, the guidance looking better as well, as you mentioned, pretty much in line with what Angelo Zeno had been saying over at CFRA, also with, of course, Dan Ives talking about how this was going to be a report that was going to handily beat expectations. But I think also, as you say, the reaction is going to be really important. Obviously, we're going to get a first look at that in the Asian session, and that is important because you have the SK Hynixes of the world, which are the memory makers that are supplying to Nvidia. I mean, this is a global story. I mean, Jensen Huang has just been over in places like South Korea, over in Asia. I mean, he was talking about tying up things with the Saudis today as well. So, I mean, this is really an international story. And so I think, with the tech wreck that we've seen sort of globally over the last few sessions as well, that's all part of the broader AI narrative as well, because this is a huge ecosystem. And, Jensen Huang and Nvidia have been very much pushing into those other markets, expanding internationally as well. And so I think, the Asian session is going to be very interesting, as well as Europe. But just to get a sense of, some of the picks and shovels out there is going to give us the first test of what the reaction is like that.
Yeah, look, these are incredibly strong numbers. Honestly, I don't think this is a big surprise. We have been seeing ongoing announcements of bigger and bigger investments in AI and data centers coming from pretty much everyone that's in the game, and that includes the startups, the big hyperscalers, so the Microsofts, Googles, and obviously all this sovereign demand coming on top of that. So I think perhaps the new news here was some of these comments around the backlog being even larger than previously thought. You're potentially looking at a further acceleration of revenues for Nvidia. This is all good stuff. Honestly, again, I don't think this is a huge surprise. We know that currently spending on AI infrastructure is enormous, continuing to grow. Usage of AI is continuing to grow. There's no real concerns there. The bigger question, and I think the concerns the market's been having over the last couple of weeks, are whether longer term this turns into a bubble. And, I cut my teeth. I started off working back in the late 90s, and I saw the internet bubble firsthand. And very early on, people were pulling out their hair and saying this was going to be a problem. And of course, they were right in the end. The kind of hallmark of a bubble is that you end up overspending on a technology, and then you simply are unable to deliver the revenues and the earnings in the near term that technology promised. And you get a shakeout. And I'll stick my neck out here. I think some of Nvidia's biggest customers will not be around in 3 to 5 years' time. They're going to go bust. It's a business where I think you need to find real revenue generation applications. And that's a lot harder in some ways than developing a really fancy model that works well. And you've got a lot of people developing the same thing. There's a lot of parallel spend. And that's, of course, what's helping Nvidia, because everyone's spending money on kind of the same things. So that's the risk, but that's further down the line, and it's impossible to predict the timing. In the meanwhile, you've got a huge spending boom, and the beneficiaries are the guys supplying the picks and shovels, really, which is Nvidia primarily, and the entire Asia supply chain that Nvidia requires to build these chips.
Right, so I'll give you the opportunity to name and shame, because you mentioned it. Look, Jensen Huang has pushed back against the AI bubble narrative, but you just said some of Nvidia's customers could go bust. Who do you think could go bust? Lay it out for me.
Look, I really don't feel I should be naming names here, but There are companies out there. I won't name names, but I think you can guess that are spending money they don't have, with revenues that are pretty minimal, that haven't really figured out how they will end up monetizing all this capital spend. And as you move into a point where you're borrowing money, you're getting vendor financing, including from Nvidia, of course, at some point those revenues need to materialize. And if the market isn't prepared to finance you anymore, you're going to run out of money. And the problem is, we at North of South, we're always looking for pricing power. How are you going to monetize the products that you're developing, the money that you're spending? And it's not entirely clear that some of these companies know how to do this. There will be huge opportunities to monetize AI, and we're seeing it in some companies, of course. But I think the kind of general purpose guys, the guys building big LLMs, there's too many of them. We don't need 5 LLMs, globally. There'll be a lot of clever applications that come on top of that. And I'm not sure it's the LLM guys who are going to develop those.
Okay. Camille, really quickly as well, we've just seen the US Commerce Department authorizing exports of these chips equivalent to 35,000 Blackwell units to G42 here in the UAE and Humane in Saudi Arabia. How significant is this for the regional AI ecosystem?
Yeah, it's huge, of course. The UAE and Saudi primarily have been working incredibly hard to build out their non-oil economy. That is really all they're looking at. How much growth can they generate outside of oil? And they've been pushing into all sorts of areas, including finance, etc. And AI is a big focus for them. And I think that's a sensible thing to do. When you talk to some of these companies here, the kind of G42s and so on, they think they can build a huge compute center, and they can then sell that compute to the global south, to other countries. They, of course, have the capital to invest. They have the relationships with Nvidia and the U.S. government. Some of the countries that actually get along well with the current U.S. government. So they're able to use this to build out regional infrastructure, and they want to leverage that infrastructure then to become a global hub for compute. So they need these chips if they want to deliver on that.
Just threw up a really important quote on the screen there that the Blackwell sales are off the chart. Cloud GPUs are sold out. That Blackwell conversation was something that was brought up a lot today. People want commentary on how they're doing. They're now saying that it's their greatest architecture. It's their number one right now. And also this data center revenue, so important, up 66% from last year. As far as the call goes, what are you expecting some of the questions to be about these numbers that are coming across here?
Well, I mean, it's really such a large-scale company. It's very difficult. There's a couple of things going on. I think the international presence for NVIDIA is important. So any constraints in China, which is more of a geopolitical issue, that could certainly be a challenge for NVIDIA. I mean, you're talking 60+%. Just the estimates were 51% for data center revenue. They beat these numbers. And if you look at even last quarter for data center, which was around 41 billion, I mean, we're talking essentially 26, 27% sequential quarter-over-quarter data center growth. That's just tremendous numbers. And the other thing is there was some challenges, and I think this will be something that's going to be highlighted a little bit more in the call, because when you move from one architecture to another, from Hopper to Blackwell, you lose some scalability. In other words, you have a higher production price, a production cost. So that can impact margins, but it doesn't look like that's the case, considering they keep moving gross margin numbers higher. And that could be because they're raising prices faster than the cost of goods sold in terms of those production numbers. But irrespective of that, it's just a remarkably profitable company, especially for a hardware company that's producing parallel chips, which is not software driven. And that's the kicker. It's such a profitable company with 50% net income margins, plus they're beyond that. For a hardware company, it's just in its league of its own. I mean, it's pretty remarkable.
And Sam, coming over to you, I'm looking at some sympathy moves here. Astera Labs up 3.5%, Micron up 2.5%. We're seeing some of these other companies move up in sympathy. Nebius up 4% on this move. In the conversations you had today, was a good report going to be enough to quell some of these AI bubble fears?
Yeah, I had a really good conversation with Katie Stockton about this earlier today, and she was talking about the fact that, does the market stay skeptical even if Nvidia rallies? Because at the end of the day, there still are those AI valuation type concerns out there. I mean, you've had some of the Wall Street bankers over the last couple of weeks talking about these valuations, talking about the potential for maybe an AI correction here. I mean, you've had also some of the worries and conversations around the circularity of all of this financing. I mean, Marley, you and I were just talking yesterday about the latest with Anthropic. I mean, it's just going around in circles here. And then obviously you have some of the concerns around depreciation, which was highlighted by Michael Burry as well. Not to mention just the rate of, how these companies are actually accessing debt to try to fund some of their AI ambitions as well. I'm not just talking Nvidia. This is across the space. So, while this is a good report card and this very much is seen as the Pied Piper of the markets, as Charles Moon likes to call it, I don't think any of those concerns go away. But at least this is confirmation that, the demand is there and the whole AI story remains intact for now.
And George, final thoughts?
Well, I think the risks right now in the AI space are the investment risks from major hyperscalers. Meta, just to give you an example, I've been using that as sort of a really, a great example of overinvestment right now because the stock is not performing well. And I think the other names out there, maybe like Oracle, just keep this in mind: contingent commitments, OpenAI, Oracle, and so forth. Right now, the risk seems to be pushed off away from Nvidia. The core architecture is still in high demand. So we may end up seeing a divergence right now, Nvidia versus some of the others. Just keeping that in mind. So I'm not saying we're not in an AI bubble. It just hasn't really manifested into Nvidia just yet. But it seems to be manifesting to some degree in some of the other names I mentioned. Just look at the stock performance of Oracle and Meta, just indicative. And lower CapEx names in AI right now are Apple, and that's holding up well.
Well, George, we appreciate you being with us to break down these all-important earnings from Nvidia. Right now, shares up more than 3% following their upbeat third quarter numbers and their better than expected guidance for